Mary Eng sitting on the outside of the subway across from the Starbucks at Holgate and 82nd on 2/11, August 31st, 2013. I just met with police officer Edwards after a 2-hour wait and 3 phone calls to see about where the dispatch was for the attempted homicide. Edwards conveyed to me that he spoke to the assailant of Benjamin Pickering, who slammed Benjamin Pickering head to torso with a huge heavy door. But Edwards conveyed to me that Providence emergency room is threatening to have me arrested if I attempt to approach the hospital where Benjamin Pickering is being held hostage after the assault in room 16 of the ER. Edwards was extremely condescending. His second question was, "Are you having a mental health crisis? Do we need to take you to the clinic?" I sat down very calmly, folded my fingers like Ransom Eng with my legs wide and my posture slouching, caught myself as I was attempting to adjust my hat to keep my posture very firm, stable, and careful for the aggressive and abrasive style of Edwards. Edwards was able to talk himself down, eventually sit down at the table. As he was still standing, though, he ridiculed my claims as bogus. He ridiculed my claim that I am a rape victim as bogus. He said, "First you say there's a homicide, then you say you were raped." And I said, "I am a rape victim. Are you a rape victim?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's a personal question." And he asked me where I lived. I volunteered the information that I was planning on seeing my father later this afternoon after I made the crime report at the Care Association down the road, that my father's illness has been difficult on my family. Edwards conveyed that this is a very professional medical group, that they need to do the job, that it makes it more difficult if they are getting orders from me. He said when he went to the hospital this morning, he asked for whether or not there was probable cause to arrest me for disorderly conduct after I was utilized as a free caregiver for 15 hours in the Portland Emergency Providence ER. The non-remunerated labor of helping Benjamin in the absence and neglect he was thrown under in this ER was requested and permitted by the hospital and encouraged up into the urine sample I obtained in the final hour before Ben was crushed in the door. The officer, Edwards, refused to give me his name. He definitely calmed down. He was very agitated. I tried to speak very slowly. I was originally a little trembly upon his abrasive style and seeing that he was not a woman. He said not to call Portland non-emergency, that it's very unusual, that he has other things to do. I find it interesting that he has spoken with the assailant security guard prior to the police delinquent response on this second attempt to make a criminal report, which there may be a notebook entry on this, not sure, but this is my notebook entry. I spoke to the emergency room staff as Ransom Ludwig Eng II and asked them if they knew who Ransom Ludwig Eng I is, and told them they better find out and they better treat Benjamin Pickering like Ransom Eng's grandson. The interaction with Edwards went well due to the fact that we were in the presence in between the subway and the Starbucks. I think the policeman was inclined to reduce his abrasiveness. I immediately told him I must sit down. I'm rather weak in the knees. His complete denial that there was a homicide attempt, even though I am the witness, is to me quite disturbing. That he refuses to make a report. I will be putting this into an IPR complaint and expecting my full rights to an administrative hearing. Unless the IPR decides to blacklist me as well from their justice system. Edwards physically is about, maybe I'd say 5'11", not like, he's kind of a little stocky in this American way, but not quite a very big guy, and he's got a short, thin, blondish hair, kind of tannish complexion, maybe some acne scarring or skin problems on one side of his nose. I believe that would be his right side of his nose, and he was twitching at one of his receivers. He was also getting a dispatch call as he arrived and confirming something on the phone, and I asked him, well, I meant to ask him if he needed to be somewhere else, and he said, what I said to is, I am so grateful that you're conveying this information to me and that I have a better understanding. I think what I need to do is get some food and just rest. I possibly mistakenly referred to my mother as my caregiver, and he said, why is she your caregiver? I said, I do need to take my migraine medicine. And he asked, why is she your caregiver? And I said, oh, my mom's a nurse. She's just a very caring person. That's how I think of her. I told him the behind the scenes about the police supervisor who thanked Mary and Eng for our successful police coaching education in the Benjamen Pickering apprehension on Thursday. And I explained to him I worked an 18-hour day. I don't know if he ever works a lot of overtime, but it was very physically exhausting to then be used for another 15 hours as a emergency room caregiver was really quite astounding, because with the emergency calls that initially resulted in the dispatch of Kyle Nice, James Trass's killer, which was a no-go. Then with the later intake at Cascadia, that evening, about 8 hours later, the long delays in any kind of processing of care for Benjamin kept Mother and I working essentially approximately a 30-hour day. Additionally, I did my media blitzing last night up late in emails and phone calls and voicemail messages. Haven't eaten much in 24 hours. Not sure about the legality of blacklisting me from the hospital. Asked Officer Edwards if I had married Benjamin, and we are engaged, whether or not my marital rights would be respected. He said he knows the answer, but he's not going to tell me, and I can ask one of my attorney friends. He said, go talk to your attorney friends. I told him I was trained as a paralegal in Los Angeles, that I have taken criminology classes. He said, well, you can talk to your lawyer, talk.
You can talk to your lawyer,
all you want, but you gotta stop calling the police. And his denial And what I said regarding the terminology is that if one did not view it as a homicide, perhaps the correct criminal law jargon would be wrongful manslaughter. If the administrated blow were of significant lethality, especially given Ben's medical needs regarding his head injury. When I mentioned Benjamin Pickering's name, he said, "Oh, who's that?" And then he understood, "Oh, it's your boyfriend." I don't think he quite understands the significance and gravity of who Benjamin Harvey Pickering is. I said his sister, I don't know if I said it, but I think I did, that his sister was able to talk to him on the phone. And then I gave him a little sweet, sentimental talk about, "Oh, have you ever been in love? I never thought I was in love, but I think I'm really in true love." And my stomach dropped when I thought Benjamin was going to be taken to the phone, but they decided they wanted to run it by the social worker. I confirmed with Edwards that at this point I should not call the hospital due to their threat of police action against me in retaliation for reporting the crime and the malpractice on their premises. For my own safety, I possibly want to be careful about that. Regarding I asked Edwards, do you know if Ben's lawyers can call the ER to negotiate for his x-rays and MRIs after the assault yesterday? He said, "Well, I don't know, why don't you ask some of your lawyers' friends?" And I said, "Well, even they don't like me," trying to make a joke about it's not just the Portland police who don't like me, even my lawyer friends don't like me. And then I said, "Oh, one of my best friends is one of the most feared and despised lawyers of Los Angeles. There's even a website built about how much somebody hates him." And he, at that point, is just kind of throwing his hands in the air and walking away.
All right. So, just to, clear up the bad impression, it looks like John Edwards broke down a car towing crime ring. So maybe he's just good at thieves and cars and extortion. But just like a simple assault, that's just really confusing. It can't be all bad.